Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Well, we got a lot of basketball. Utah Jazz beating again. Alex Jensen, the press conference, introduced the Utes' new head coach. We'll get to that coming up later this morning. You'll hear from Alex. But let's start with a little football. Spring ball underway. Jake Retzlaff made a huge jump from year one to year two. Can he make that jump from year two to year three? Does he have enough weapons around him to help him make that jump? Here's Jake Retzlaff with the media at BYU spring practice.
Jake, I asked both A-Rod and Jay Hill this, and I'm kind of curious from a player's perspective about how offenses and even defenses are tweaked. You know, I know they do the self-scouting and really break things down. What's that like, seeing those little tweaks, those little adjustments that both sides make as a player?
Yeah, it's fun. It's the game within the game, right? I mean, we just try to make sure, like, when it comes to self-scout, tendency is the big thing. And so we're doing everything to break those tendencies, everything to run a play off of a play. We'll run a run play that has this sort of formation, this sort of action, and then a pass play or a play action off of that. It's fun. It's super fun. I love it. The X's and O's, the ins and outs, the game within the game is what I love about football. So it's awesome to see that, unfold from both sides of the ball. Getting surprised by our defense when they do some really creative stuff. Jay Hill has some really creative stuff. And then offensively, when we get something working like that, it's super, super fun.
A-Rod was also just talking about situational work and how that's a big thing here in spring, how you guys are spending a lot of time doing, specifics. It's 2nd and 10 or it's 3rd and 3 or you're in the red zone, things like that. And then you're able to compete. How much more fun does having that situational approach, does that make spring camp? Because it can be a grind this time of year.
I'll tell you what, we don't feel like it's a grind right now. I mean, the grind is the winter workouts when there's not even a ball. It's the weight room, it's the sprinting on the turf and stuff like that. Like, that's the grind. But when there's ball in the field, man, we have so much fun as a team. It's just, this group of guys is incredible to play with. I love playing with them all. But the more competition you add, the harder guys are going to play, and the more fun it ends up being. And so when we set clear situations, and we know it's 3rd and 3. If we get the first down, offense wins. If the defense stops them, obviously defense wins. And so you get a lot more energy off of that. Offense gets their first down chance going. Defense gets all riled up whenever they make a play. So it's fun.
How is this, first off-season experience where you're the clear-cut number one quarterback? How has that allowed you to grow even more in the position?
Yeah, it's totally a new dynamic for me. One thing I try to do is it's still the same mentality, right? Still got to get better. Still got to push the envelope and still try to master the details of the game. And I feel like I'm doing a great job. I feel like the next level of the thing I told somebody the other day, the first year in this offense, you're getting your GEs done. Your second year is you're getting your degree, and your third year you're getting your master's. And so I feel like that's where I'm at with this offense, where it's the master's program where you can major in these specific little details and dial them in perfectly, and it's been a blast. And so it's so fun to be able to pick up on all the little stuff, be able to have a little more freedom. Like the other day in meetings, A-Rod's like, hey, I'm going to give you green light. If you want to make that check. And so it's nice to have that kind of leash from A-Rod get a little longer, but at the same time, it's still gas, foot to the pedal. We're still getting better every day. We still got to push ourselves. I got to find ways to push myself without being in a competition. And that's always to beat the defense.
And just to follow up on that, along with trying to beat the defense, what other areas are you trying to push yourself, whether off the field and on the field while competing?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, we look at these little stats at the end of the year, part of our self-scout deal is we look at all the little stats that we line up in and how it works like that, and we know that if we raise our touchdown percentage in the red zone, we go from a pretty good offense to a really good offense. And then if we raise our third down numbers, and then we get more, if we play a little faster, we get one more possession in the game, and then we use our percentages, now we end up being possibly an elite offense. And so that's the stuff that I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, it's not like it has to be these big revolutionary ideas to improve this offense. It's getting a little better at all these little things, and a lot of that is situational football. And so that's why I love the way we set up our practices. Is there's always something in mind going into every drill, and that's exactly what a game is, right? You don't ever go out of a game and just run base downs, and you don't ever just go run 3 first downs in a row or 5 or 6 first downs in a row. It's always about situational football. So that's why I love the way we structure these practices. Like, we'll do a second down play it, we'll do a red zone play it, and A-Rod's calling the plays in the headset and off of a call sheet. And so, like, that kind of stuff makes it super fun to be like, okay, this is the situation we're in. This is right now it's 3rd and 3 on the 8-yard line, like, and we're driving red zone. We get the first down. Now we got to score, you know? And so that stuff is super fun for me because it just gets you thinking about the situation and being better in situational football, because that is football.
Go ahead, Sean, then Jake.
Yeah, Jake, we were just talking to A-Rod a little bit, and he mentioned Carson Ryan has already emerged as kind of one of the top playmakers that you get to work with on this offense. You guys are getting the ball to him. I think he said every day, like, you're trying to get the ball to him every day in practice. Just what have you seen from him over he's only been with you guys for a couple weeks, couple months, I guess, through conditioning and all of that. What have you seen from him where he's kind of emerged for you guys so quickly?
Dude's a stud, man. He's a heck of a ball player. I love throwing him the ball. He does a good job in all aspects. He's a well-rounded tight end. I mean, he does it all, and he does it all really well. And it's super fun to see him out there running routes, creating separation, using his physicality versus DBs, and then using his speed versus linebackers. Like, it's fun to watch him play football. Like, it's fun to watch. It's fun to throw the ball to him. He's a guy who's gonna get open, even though it seems like he shouldn't be, and he's going to make plays. And the way he's picked up this offense so fast has been so awesome. It's cool to see a guy like that who's obviously older, transfer in, and has a great feel for the game. And that's a big part of our offense, is to have a feel for what's going on around you while also knowing what you're doing. And so he's done a good job of knowing what he's doing, but he still has a feel for the game. It's obviously, it takes a guy with experience to have that. And so Carson Ryan, he's impressed me a lot, man. He's going to be a weapon for us, no doubt.
Yeah, Jake, I wanted to ask you, Aaron Roderick has said he's challenged you to push to 70% completion percentage, 30 touchdowns, single-digit interceptions. Do you embrace those benchmarks he set for you? Yeah,
obviously, like that's the goal. It's one thing that I pride myself in is, every camp that I've been at BYU, I'm always, like, in our exit interview, whatever it is, I'm asking, what do you need me to do next? What do you need me to do next? And whatever that is, whether it was a backup role when I showed up or whether it was the starting role when I, emerged as a starter. And that's the big thing is like, we're going to raise these numbers. And those are some of the numbers that we look at. We're like, those numbers will drastically increase if we do these little things better. And so it's not, like I said, it's not revolutionary change. It's something we can easily do. And so it's something that is a goal, obviously, of mine. And, I think I harp on myself more than anybody else does. And so I want to be well above that. And so that's the goal.
I also want to take you back. Super Bowl, you went down to New Orleans. I think you were an invitee of Robert Kraft out there with the New England Patriots. We're seeing your profile really rise nationally. Are you embracing all that along with improving as a quarterback in the on-field product? How do you balance both of those?
Yeah, part of that is I got to meet some really awesome guys, and I got to chat with Eli Manning, Archie Manning, and Tom Brady, and these guys are just the dudes, right? And so I got to talk to Tom, and I just asked him, I say, what would you tell senior year you at Michigan? He's like, dude, you're never done. You're never arrived. Like, you just keep getting better. Just look for ways to get better constantly. Just constantly find the next edge, the next tweak. And the more I've done that, the more I realize is there's always another tweak, another tell, another key, another, something that you can pick up on, whether it's reading a defense, whether it's throwing the ball, whether it's getting through reads, understanding blitzes, understanding coverages, like all of that stuff is ever improvable. And so being able to talk to a guy like that, it was an awesome weekend for me. The game was cool, but everything surrounding it was way more awesome. I got to go for the Unity event with Robert Kraft, and that was super fun, super eye-opening. Got to talk to some really awesome people. Greg Joseph, who I think is the only Jewish guy in football in the NFL, and some other people, around that area. And so it's super cool to just connect with those guys.
All right, Matt, you're next.
Keelan Marion's a guy that keeps getting brought up as a leader and an emerging playmaker. Where have you seen growth from Keelan from last year to now?
The dude has just mastered this offense. It's so impressive to watch. He's yelling across the formation to make sure our formation is right. Like my job, make sure our formation is right. He's yelling at the receivers across the field from numbers to numbers, making sure we're right. It's just so impressive the way he does that. And he's a great leader, man. Guys follow him. He's one of those dudes that, is a tough guy who he's going to fight for you. And if, he's going to make the plays, he's a game time guy. He's a dude who's never going to shy away from the moment. He always, raises to the occasion. A lot of times people say like you fall back on your practices, but that guy raises to the occasion always. Like he is an awesome dude to be around in those high pressure situations because he's ready to make the play. And so that's rubbing off on the guys around him, especially those young guys in the receiver room, guys who are emerging like Tay Nakua, they're starting to feel that from him. It's like, okay, like, all right, like let's make this play, but if I can, I'm going to make this play. And that's Keelan's whole mindset, it's the whole attitude. He's like such an easy guy. Like I love to give him more authority in the offense. Be like, hey Keelan, you get this break. Hey Keelan, you do this. Like because people love to hear from that guy because that guy is just a heck of a leader, and it's just all so natural. It's natural ability from him, and it's really cool to watch and see how far he's come.
All right, there's Jake Retzlaff, BYU quarterback, talking a little football. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the Jazz do it. They lose their 10th in a row. And Lauri Markkanen, break a sweat in the first quarter and then just cool down from there. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. The Utah Jazz lost to the Bulls last night. That's 10 straight losses for the Jazz. They're still on 15 wins, tied with the Wizards in the race to the bottom in the NBA. Now, they played again last night. Again, Lauri Markkanen, play him early. Don't get yourself fined. Don't put him on the injury list, but, play him less. He took 10 shots in the first quarter, 4 in the second, 2 in the third, none in the fourth. This is a trend, people. We've gone over this for a couple of games now. He's going to play. He's going to play early. But when it's winning time, as Magic Johnson once famously said, Lauri's going to be sitting. Winning time has become sitting time. All right, for more, let's get to the Best of the Jazz postgame show.
Sure Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. The Jazz fall to the Bulls last night, 111-97. The Jazz were led by Lauri Markkanen, who had 16 points in 24 minutes. Keontae George added 16 coming in off the bench. Walker Kessler with another double-digit rebound night in the loss with 12 to go along with his 7 points. But to no avail, Chicago gets 26 from Kobe White and goes on for the win. Let's get to the postgame sound and Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
I actually feel really good about the team's effort tonight, especially compared to last night's game. Thought the guys competed really hard. I think 17 turnovers hurt us a bit. Give Chicago credit. They kept us off the offensive glass with only 4 offensive rebounds tonight, which has been a real area of strength for us lately. And the reality is we couldn't stretch their defense out enough because we didn't make any threes. I thought we got a lot of good ones. I think especially early in the game, we were 0 for 8 to start, and I felt really good about the looks that we got. And I think the team overall continued to compete throughout the night, even though it was sort of an ugly game. But I think the ugliness was because we didn't make shots. I didn't think it was based on effort or poor communication. We couldn't ever really catch a good flow because we just didn't have a pocket where we made 3 shots in a row. And I think that kept us from making a real run. But we'll get some film in, and I really want the guys to continue to take care of their bodies. I think that at this point in the year, we've got, like everybody, some guys that are banged up, but very proud of the team's effort tonight, just a night where we didn't really make any shots.
Walker had that moment in third quarter where he looked like he was thinking about a 3, but then put the ball on the ground and kind of just battled with Vooch until he got to the basket. How much of his development in kind of developing that outside game is recognizing those moments where he might have an advantage?
Yeah, if you pop or your space, playing against a closeout is a huge part of it and making a quick decision. I appreciate you left the part out where he pointed at someone in the crowd afterwards and then let Vucevic shoot a 3. But I think that the making the read on the pop, whether it's to shoot, drive, or especially for a big like that to go play on the second side, is something we want to help Walker develop. Walker is Walker. You guys know him well, and so he's obviously worried about whether they're going in or not. And, he says things like, man, they feel good, but they're not going, they feel good. I feel good about them, and that's great. I continue to message to Walker, and I'll message the same thing to you guys. I want him to find the threes. Step one is getting the shots off and feeling in the rhythm of the game when they're supposed to be taken. He's now in a moment where he's feeling out moments of when to roll and when to pop when he sets a screen. And so that's going to take time to develop that feel. The guards will also have to develop the feel with Walker of, he's going to pop on this one or he's going to roll. So it's about him continuing to get in those situations and then make the decisions of whether I shoot, drive, or go play second side. So I think through 2 games, I've felt pretty good about the threes that he's found. I have the utmost confidence that as he continues to work on it and feel more comfortable, that the results of make and miss will go in his favor.
There were a few possessions there where you played without a traditional point guard and let Cody handle the ball a little bit up top. What do you want to see from him in those situations specifically, and then kind of generally for the whole game? What are you hoping from an offensive point of view, especially?
For Cody.
For Cody, yes, sir.
Yeah, in the moments where he is the point guard, the messaging has really been, you don't have to orchestrate the game. Just help us play with tempo, and you can get off the ball early if you need to. His first stint, we got 2 threes on kick-aheads with Bryce because Cody did a great job of getting the outlet. He looks up the floor, takes one dribble, and just kicks it ahead. I don't want Cody to feel the pressure of, okay, now I have to play call and I have to manage the game. And that's why we're putting him in that spot in kind of the middle part of the game, where it's not necessarily like a slowed down execution moment. For Cody in general, I'm looking for the same thing that I've talked a little bit with you guys about Walker some in the past. Like, I want him to be 10 to 20% more reckless. I want him to be assertive. I want him to be a little bit more demonstrative. I want him to not overthink whether he's making the perfect play. I think Cody's a very cerebral player and he's a good decision maker, but I think sometimes that leaves him caught in between because he's trying to make the perfect read. I want him to be a little bit more reckless, and with that is going to come some mistakes. It's going to bring a few plays that are going to be loud and ugly, but that doesn't bother me. It's about Cody developing the confidence to make a play that's maybe a little bit off script. And if we can continue to help him build that, then it'll be a success. Because I think that Cody, on Cody's most reckless day, is not going to be a reckless player. Like that, he's very cerebral. He's a great decision maker, but I want to try to help free him up some. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think sometimes putting him in that spot where he's handling the ball more. It's also why we started big tonight, because it pushed Cody to the 2, where he has to handle the ball a little bit more. So we've got to continue to do some things to manufacture those situations for him.
We've talked a lot about Flip's playmaking and his skill set in that way, but also I think it was tonight in the fourth quarter, him and JC have a moment. JC kind of nods at him. I think Flip comes over, sets a screen for a pick and roll. I think off of that, JC finds him, he scores. What is his sense of like his feel when it comes to just playing with other players on the court, especially like vets like that?
Yeah, Flip has great instincts, and Flip's doing a good job for the most part of navigating, toggling between playing 4 and 5, because he gets guarded by different players. And so he's seeing different coverages. I think that's where you see the cerebral part of Flip really show up. Most of our perimeter players, they're getting guarded in switching actions when they go play on the ball. Flip, when he's the 5, doesn't get switched much. When he's the 4, he gets switched a lot. And so I think during the game, he's having to do a lot of recognition of who's guarding him, and I think for the most part he's picking it up pretty quickly. Tonight was an example of a time where technically for us we would have said he's the 5, but the Bulls put their 5 on Potter, and so now Flip has to recognize who he's being guarded by and what that means in terms of his reads. So he has really good instincts. Like all of our players, I do think that he can use his voice more. I think that he can be louder with his communication. He can be earlier with his communication on both sides of the ball.
I should have asked you this before the game. I'm sorry. Thoughts on Alex Jensen getting the job at Utah and what type of a coach he was when you worked with him?
Yeah, I'm very happy for AJ. He's a heck of a basketball mind. He's got a great demeanor. He understands how to communicate with this generation of player. He's very smart. He's got a hilarious sense of humor and very dry. I really enjoyed working with him. I think he's going to do a great job, and it's going to be fun to watch. I don't pretend to be an expert on the landscape of college basketball. It's obviously changed a lot in the last couple of years, but I think AJ is the type of person who, based on his intelligence and his ability to think on the fly, he's going to do an amazing job.
There is Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the players and hear from Cody Williams.
Just kind of keeping the tempo, pushing the pace, and then, realizing who has the mismatches, realizing what plays we can call. If Lowry's in the corner, running a quick or a point action for him. Or, first read is always attack, get downhill, and kind of just read from there. So I think the biggest thing is really just pushing the pace.
Will's told us he wants you to be 10 to 20% more reckless in your play. What does that mean to you?
I think for me it's just like an effort and energy standpoint, just flying around, especially on defense. Just, obviously trying to play solid defense, but not really worrying about mistakes, just playing hard and flying around and having just a ton of energy and effort. So that's kind of what I take from being reckless.
What about reckless offensively?
Just being aggressive, being attack, not second guess yourself. Don't try and think too much, just kind of go out there and play. Even if you make the wrong read, if you do it 100%, 9 out of 10 times something good will happen out of it. So I think just not overthinking it, just playing hard.
What more are you looking for defensively from yourself after watching film and different things, takeaways that you've seen?
I think for me, just being more disruptive off the ball. I feel like right now I'm pretty good on the ball. Obviously, I can be a whole lot better, but on the ball, I feel like that's one of my strengths. So just figuring out, especially when I'm not, guarding someone in a pick and roll, how I can be effective on the weak side and kind of just, making my presence felt.
That is Jazz rookie Cody Williams. Let's now move on to another Jazz rookie and hear from Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah, I think kind of just staying aware of the situation, recognizing when they do have the 5 on me versus a guard, and, kind of just making the different reads. When they do that, probably looking to do the hit unders more. I played 4 most of my life growing up, so it's kind of just learning how to ride a bike again.
And how, like you said, learning how to ride a bike again, how hard is that to do in real time, especially when games like this tonight where the pace is so fast?
Yeah, I think there's probably a possession or two where I'm where I'm still doing what I've been doing most of the year recently. And then after those couple possessions, I'm like, oh, okay, I noticed this and now I got to adapt to that.
What do you like about playing with even some of the vets on this team? Like JC finds you off of, I think, a pick and roll he calls you for, and you score on that. What are you learning just off of feel with some of the older guys?
Yeah, I think just, knowing their strengths, number one, and what they're really good at, and then how to, complement their game styles. And I think I've done a really good job with that. With all of them, but like you said, with JC tonight, and kind of just being able to complement how they play the game and just read the floor in those situations.
How comfortable do you feel about your shot distribution as of late in terms of the number of threes you're getting versus shots closer to the basket?
That's a good question. I'm just, when I'm out there playing, I'm kind of just trying to make the right read. And, some games call for shooting more threes, then so be it. If some games call for, taking more twos at the rim, then I'm cool with that too. It's kind of just, depending on the game. And like I said, if they're taking away that 3 ball, like they kind of tried doing tonight, looking to adapt and play inside. And I think that's what's pretty special about my game style and how versatile I am with being able to do that.
There is Kyle Filipowski, 8 points, 5 boards for Kyle last night. The Jazz followed the Bulls 111-97. Up next, the Jazz will take on the Wizards at Delta Center coming up tomorrow night. Tip-off for that game is at 7. Pre-game coverage begins at 6.
There's the Best of the Jazz post-game show. A reminder, don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. Tomorrow on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win tickets to Cody Johnson on his Leather Deluxe Tour. June 28th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Alex Jensen, his press conference up at the U. That's next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. 6 o'clock last night. Alex Jensen at the Huntsman Center, introduced as Utah's 17th head coach. Let's go to the festivities with Mark Harlan and Alex Jensen.
The last few weeks have been, especially watching that video and being here, is a trip down memory lane. And I think about all the people that have, in my life that have made, not only my life in basketball, but this moment possible. And I kind of laugh to myself because my family, a couple siblings who aren't here, who I don't blame them because they grew up, that's all they did was come to Utah games. That was the family vacations. But I had a great and supportive family. I had a great mentor and friend in Coach Majerus. He memorable, and I know, And I've had a lot of people along the way. The nice thing about this process is I've been able to speak to a lot of my teammates, and I kind of feel like I represent them. But I'm grateful for my family, the university. I don't want to echo too much of what Mark said, but the Board of Trustees, the Eccles, the Huntsmans, and the Gardners, and I can still remember my freshman year when Kim sponsored my scholarship, and then I think John Sr. saved all of us from Coach on many occasions. But I'm grateful for all those people that made my career special here and then helped me as I went on. And the NBA community, which I've been so fortunate to be a part of, the friends and the people I've learned from there, the teammates. I've just been lucky to be around a lot of good people. And Mark also said it. The current team and coaches, I respect them. It's a difficult time, but I wish I had more time to get to meet them and know them. But and then President Randall, it was only for a few minutes I spoke to him, and the vision he has for the university was really inspiring, and Mark as well. And it's an exciting time to be. It's a world-class organization with athletic support and great support and great fan base. And I'm excited to get a team, to get people that want to be here, a hard-playing, tough team that other teams do not like to face. We're students that graduate, and also where players want to come for a multitude of reasons, which I think are here. But I am grateful and I'm excited, and I keep thinking about all the work that I need to do. But thank you all for coming. I wish I had time to spend with all of you a few minutes, but I really am grateful for all of you that have made this possible. Thank you.
We're going to do a Q&A with the media here in a minute. I'm going to lead it off real fast. Alex, I'll start with you. In this process, as you've thought about it, and I'm sure you've thought about it more than once through the years, what had you most excited about taking this job and coming back to your alma mater?
It's funny, when I've been at a crossroads in my career, timing, it's interesting how things happen. And it felt right. And, through my conversations, I'm extremely diligent, I think, when I make decisions like this, and I talk to a number of people. And, at the end, as hard of the decision as it seems, at one point, it becomes easy in the end. And it was, I think the excitement and the timing just felt right for me.
Great. Mark, on your side of it, through the process, you have the conversations with Alex. Of everything that you guys talked about, what impressed you most through the process about Alex and his desire to have this job?
Well, it wasn't X's and O's. It had nothing to do with that. When we went face to face, it was just, getting to know each other better, right? We've had a chance to meet on more than a few occasions. We certainly had when you were here with the Jazz, right? We had some breakfasts and I just want to get to know him a little bit better. I wanted to learn about Natalie. I wanted to learn about the family. I wanted to learn about all those kind of things because when you make these hires, you become, a partner with somebody that you're investing with. And so we just really talked about that. We talked about everything that was going on. I think the trade just happened, so you probably, the lovely Maverick trade. So I think you probably remembered half of what I said, but it was just more getting to know. And then as the process went on, and he just asked such thoughtful questions you could see his mind thinking about those type of things. And so, I could tell his excitement was there, but he's just a very thoughtful thinker and processor. And so I just want to give him all the information. College basketball has changed a lot since those videos, and I want to make sure he was up to speed on all those changes as well.
All right, we'll open it up to the media. Just raise your hand, identify who you are and who you're with, and we'll pass the mics around over there.
Steve Bartle, KSL Sports. Alex, we've heard a lot about you being a connection to the glory days, but also being the man to lead this program into the future. What does that mean to you?
I remember playing here, and the history, especially basketball, it's rich. And I remember thinking, like, you're in a long chain of great players and great teams, and I think obviously it's I don't want to say a continuation of the past, but I think it's a connection. But I've specifically approached it as forward-facing, forward-looking, and to carry on the tradition. And the one thing is, when Mark was just speaking, is going through the process. I remember back to my times playing here and the relationships and the people that were around the program, and I remember I mentioned it to President Randall that I just all of a sudden remember Chase Peterson, Coach Majerus, and the commitment they had, and I remember that, and the same thing talking to Mark. Remember the Chris Hill days with Majerus, and then the Board of Trustees, which was a great thing because I remember their parents or their father-in-laws, just the commitment they had to the program and the people. And I think that's one thing as you go through basketball, the one thing that makes it worth it, because all the time you spend away from your family is relationships and the people you do it with. So it just kind of struck me that talking to all those people.
John Kunis, Associated Press. Alex, you spent the past dozen seasons as an assistant coach in the NBA. Had a role in player development there with Rudy Gobert and among others. How do you feel like that experience will translate to being a college head coach?
I was actually, my coaching journey's been, I wouldn't change anything about it. Like, I remember my first job was with Coach Majerus in St. Louis. And I remember I was playing in Europe and I didn't want to quit. And I flew to meet him in St. Louis. And he asked me, and I think I said yes because I was still scared to say no to the man. There's a lot of truth to that. But it was a great learning experience there. I had other assistants there. Then I went to the D-League and had a great experience there. And then in the NBA, I've worked for some great coaches. I mean, I had 1 year with Tyrone Corbin, who gave me my shot in the NBA. I spent 8 years with Quinn Snyder, and we went through a lot of different teams and ups and downs, building a program. And then even 1 year with Will Hardy, and then with Jason Kidd this last couple years. But the college game, I think it's becoming more and more professional, and I think most players are the same. They want to know if you care, and two, if you know what you're talking about. So I think I've been able to go through that, and I think it'll help me here.
I'm Jeff Ranier with Fox 13. I was going to kind of a lead into what you just finished off. You got players over there watching, listening to what you have to say. How are the challenges of the new NCAA college basketball? It's a lot different than when you played. How are you approaching those challenges that you didn't have to face in the NBA?
You know, I think it's ever evolving. It's changing, and I think in 6 months or a year, it'll even be different from now. And it actually reminded me of my days in the D League, when you're negotiating with players, and it's you try to make it a place or a team that they want to come. Like there's a reason to come besides just the money and things like that. But it's kind of fascinating to me, because I think like I said, it'll change, but in some ways it can makes it simpler, if that makes any sense. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge, and it's a new world. It's the Wild West, that's for sure.
Hey, Alex, Dana Green with ABC4 here. Welcome back. And there's been some other former Utah greats that have been mentioned as possible assistant coaches joining your staff. I know you just got here, but how far along are you in maybe bringing in some assistants? And do you have any comment about some former teammates that might be possibilities?
One of the things from the get-go is I knew it would be difficult, but I felt like I needed to finish the season in Dallas. And they've been great, and I don't think they would mind if I left, but I just feel it's the right thing to do to finish it out there, which makes all that hiring a staff and getting going a little more difficult. But just like when I'm making the decision, like I'm going through the extreme due diligence, and I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and a lot of people want jobs, but again, I'm taking my time, and I've spoken to a lot of teammates recently, but I want to take my time and do it right instead of rush it. In fact, I've talked to a lot of former college coaches that have said that. Take time with your staff and do it and get it right.
Josh Furlong, KSL.com. Alex, as you approach getting back into the college ranks, what is going to be the type of style that you want to run? Is it going to be more NBA style? Do you look to the Big 12 and kind of how they're doing things? Where are you pulling these things to kind of determine what you want to do?
It's a good question, because I've spent the last 13 years in the NBA, so that's kind of where my mind is. But I think it's something that'll evolve. In talking to some of the players, and even some of the board of trustees, I think it's something that'll change, and you have to tailor it to your team. But I think in the Big 12, it's a tough physical conference. Like it's an underrated basketball conference in my mind. But I think as far as style, it's going to be a lot of NBA, but it depends on the personnel I have. I want them to, I don't want to say play fast, but I want them to play free, not be afraid to make mistakes, but also have a solid core of hard playing, and there's things that we do every night. I know that doesn't answer the question real well, but I think it'll be ever evolving, because I'll evolve coming back to college as well.
Jason Patacchio from the Salt Lake Tribune. Alex, just kind of walk me through the timing and everything that you went through just making this decision, because from what it seemed like you were in a good situation in Dallas. I mean, walk me through that process, and for Marhc, what were some of the things that you had to kind of set up to make sure that this was a right fit for Alex in terms of donors and all those other factors?
Well, it was a roller coaster, to say the least. And it's always hard, because there's kind of a guilt, going through a process like this while you have a job. But there's a number of people, a lot who I've met through the university, that I call and I talk to when I make a decision like that. And I went back and forth, and I think I mentioned it earlier. And the timing was hard, because we were going through some adversity in Dallas, and I wanted to give them everything I had. But I think I just try to talk to everybody that's involved, like I mentioned earlier with the university, and friends I have, and I went back and forth many days, but I think in the end, like it became clear that it was, that it was a good choice. And it was a lot easier when I was single too, making choices. So, but I think obviously I take my wife and my daughters into the equation now, which complicates it a little bit more, but it's a good thing.
I think whenever you have such a critical position, obviously for the athletic department, but I would argue that for the entire university and this program in particular, it was so critical to have, like we said earlier, the board and president involved, and they participated in the process, which was great because we were able to download afterwards and all those kind of things. And like I said earlier, Alex had some really thoughtful questions, and we wanted to make sure that we were being honest about everything. I don't want anyone to leave a great job and not be completely candid about everything. We talked about the revenue share, which will change, which he was alluding to come July, which will change a lot of things in the industry once again. So yeah, we have a lot of people, and yes, I've had some donors call me, and they're very excited. They remember Alex, and they're really excited about it. I mean, I get it. This is a family here. This program is a family, and Alex is a key step along with others joining in and getting this place filled up again. And if I saw Patrick's article in one of your papers today, wrote an article. Is that you, Josh? About we're so pleased with the response to our public and season tickets already, and folks that we haven't heard from in a while, and so it's an exciting day for all of us. One of your articles, who wrote it? Sorry, my bad. These guys they got really thin skin, y'all, the media. See, I looked at the wrong guy right there, and the other guy got upset. Too many Joshes.
Alma Bean, KSL Sports Zone. So, Alex, you've mentioned a handful of the coaches that you've worked alongside, whether it's Majerus, Kidd, Snyder, Hardy. All of them, they have their impacts on and off the court. What would you consider your staple would be to this program, either on or off the court?
What my staple would be?
Yes, sir.
That was my coaching journey I talk about is I think the fortunate thing of being a head coach for a couple years is you learn to find yourself, and you being genuine. You kind of find your cadence of when and when not to do things, and the more coaches you're around, I think that helps you with that. And I think, like I said, I realized today that I can't be Coach Majerus, and I got to find myself, and I can't be the other way. But I think players and people react and respond to you being genuine. Whether it's encouraging or telling them to do it again and again and again. But I think one, if they know you care and they care about it as much. Once they know that I care, I think that lifts their care up more, if that makes sense.
Alex, Dave Fox from Channel 2, welcome back. There's obviously a lot of people in this room that were impacted one way or another, for better or worse, by Coach Majerus, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I'm just curious what you take from him in your coaching style, what you learned from him, or maybe what you don't take from him as you go forward becoming a head coach here at Utah.
I always, the line I always say with Coach Majerus, and we joke about it, is he kind of ruins the game for you because you learn, it's hard to watch a game without picking it apart. There's a genius to it, and I was fortunate enough to play for him and start my coaching career because you get your base knowledge of basketball. Being in the NBA, I tell everybody, NBA is not the place to learn the game. It's, you look at a lot of the great coaches that have come, they've started in the minors, George Karl, Phil Jackson, and, guys of that nature. But, the one thing about coaching with Coach Majerus is I got to see a different side. And you know what? And I think we realized that when we played, that he did care. And when you ran into troubles is when I think he thought he cared more than you did. But I think, there's a saying in the NBA, it's a little bit different than college, but you have only so many bullets in the gun. and you got to pick your moments when to, and that was one thing that Jason Kidd, I think, was great at. Like, he picked his moments and he hit it right on when it was time to, go after the guys and when not to. And, and that's sort of being around all those coaches, I think I got a good feel for the right way to do it and the right way for me to do it. Not every day.
Alex Markham, Ute Nation and Rivals, welcome back. Just to kind of piggyback off Dave's question, you've been able to coach under some really great coaches, so I'm really kind of curious what you're going to be taking maybe from a few of those guys as you go forward in your head coaching career.
One of the nice things about an assistant is you can kind of sit back and watch, right? You can just sit in the back of, say, the film room or on the practice court, and you can just watch players' reactions to, certain things that a coach does and see what's effective and the timing of it all. And all the coaches I've worked under, they've had a different personality and a different approach. And so it was always it's fun to watch and learn, I think, and ask questions. And that was the good thing, because you could see what players respond to and what they don't, and the timing of it. And then, as an assistant coach, a lot of times you're the shoulder to cry on, for different coaches at different ways, but where you still support the head coach, but you kind of tell them that, where they're right and where they're wrong. But just when and the timing of everything, I think, is important.
Hi, Coach Jensen. Andrea Urban with Fox 13. You mentioned being genuine, and so that kind of leads into my question. What is something that you take pride in as a head coach, or what is it that you want the identity of your program to be?
I think, especially for players, I think they can really see through, if you walk the walk, right? If you follow what you teach. Because it's kind of funny, having kids, I think, has helped me really become a better coach, because, for those of us who have children, they look for a chink in the armor. And if they find it, then you're in trouble. But I think, I think if, that was the one thing, I think with players that did well, like Coach Majerus, they saw the place where he came from, they were all right with it. A lot of the time, if they cared as much as he did. But I think just being involved, and it's funny because I've never played football, never coached football, but I'm fascinated by football coaches and how they handle an organization. In the NBA, we've had Bill Belichick and other guys, but I remember the one thing they always say is personal relationships. You got to take the time. And, it's different as a head coach and assistant coach, but you got to take the time to know somebody and their family. And I think then that way you can you'll be able to coach them more and get more out of them.
Alex, you now have to get in the world of recruiting. How are you going to approach that, whether that be with your staff that you're going to put together, as well as kind of how you're going to approach recruiting?
Again, it's been a while. When I stopped recruiting last time, they were just introducing text messages, and I thought, I'm glad I'm leaving. It's going to get crazy. In fact, I started my Facebook page because I thought that's how I was going to recruit, because they just legalized it, and I haven't touched it since. And I might have to get a Twitter account or something now, but no. I think that's one thing. Again, with my staff, because that's a relationship-based thing, and now it's evolved because you have agents. There's a whole world of people, and there's relationships that you have to have where you can, get to the meat of the kid, or if that makes sense, get the real story. But no, it's going to be a lot of work, and I know that, and I'm excited. Again, it's hard finishing up in Dallas, but I'm going to do my due diligence to get a staff that understands that and knows that, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it never stops. And that's where a lot of the wars are won, is in the recruiting.
Sammy Mora, 247utezone.com. Coach Jensen, I know this is really early in your tenure, but if you could tell Utah fans one thing about the future of this program, what would you tell them?
You know, I would tell them I mentioned a little bit earlier, but it's going to be a tough, hard-nosed, competitive team that will make the fan base proud. Like, that's the one thing that I will strive to do and won't cut corners, but it'll be a team that they'll be proud of. And, you know, I had conversations with all the players today, and it'll be with the changing landscape, it'll be a place where players want to come and play and want to be a part of, I think, after they're done playing. That's my goal. That's what it'll be.
There's Alex Jensen. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.